It is a tremendous honour to be standing here before you now, in this city where my family made their business for almost 150 years, as your prospective Member of Parliament for Bradford West. In fact, it's an honour to be standing here running for this Mother of Parliament of ours at all. Because, you know, we hear an awful lot these days, don't we, about our broken society, our broken politics, our broken political system. And I am not, even for one moment, trying to deny the many serious challenges that our country faces. But it is equally undeniable that ours is one of the world's great democracies. A country in which people can't... Can you hear me? Right, sorry. Ours is a country in which your neighbour cannot simply steal your property from you because he's stronger than you are, in which we do have the rule of law, in which freedom of expression and freedom of religion are real things. You know, it wasn't so long ago that I lived and worked in Libya. I went out there right after the fall of the Gaddafi regime to help establish the first post-Gaddafi English language newspaper and as a correspondent for the Times. And it was a tremendous time to be there, to be up close and personal with the people trying to build a democracy there and trying to establish a free press. But you don't need me to tell you that Libya today has more than its fair share of difficulties, because it turns out that building a new democracy is not an easy thing. And it was at my time there that I was given fresh cause to appreciate the debt of gratitude we owe to our forebears who built this democracy, and the responsibility on all of us to preserve it, and dare I say as a Conservative, to conserve it and build on it some more. But I mention Libya for one other reason also, because I'm sorry to say that my time there did not end happily. I was made the target of abduction, of kidnapping. There is a death list in Benghazi, it's a city I'm sure you've all heard of, where extremist militia are systematically murdering members of the security forces with whom they disagree. I made it my business to investigate this death list, and sadly the people behind it made it their business to come after me. But what do you think my conclusion was from this sorry episode? Do you think it was that all Libyans, all Muslims, are extremists, are kidnappers? Of course it was not. It was fellow Libyans, fellow Muslims who helped to keep me safe during that time. And yet I do fear that today it is precisely that sort of lazy racial and religious stereotyping that we are seeing so very much of. And I want no part of it. But I want to tell you this. When I stand here now, I am not going to judge you or seek to represent you in your capacity as representatives of the Muslim community, any more than I will seek to represent you in your capacity as representatives of the white community or the Christian community. I will represent you as citizens of this island we call Britain, because there is so much that unites us, and I want to identify those common values: a belief in family, a belief in education, in enterprise, in individual responsibility. I want to consign to the dustbin of history this incredibly damaging idea that has taken root in our society, that different cultures and different communities should be judged according to different sets of values, different sets of aspirations, and different sets of needs. It is an extremely damaging philosophy, this idea of so-called multiculturalism, because it hasn't led to multiculturalism, had it? It has led to cultural division, suspicion, and intolerance. So if you elect me, I will represent you as the British community, not as the Muslim community or the Christian community or any other kind of community. Now, very quickly, I just want to speak about my opponents in the Labour Party. Because they're always saying, aren't they, that they are the only party with the interests of Britain's inner cities at heart. To which I can only say that if that is the case, then Britain's inner cities have had quite enough of the fruits of their benevolence. Because the results are clear for everyone to see. And why is it that they have failed? I think it's very clear. I do not believe that Labour values are the values necessary for success in places like Bradford. They have been behind that divisive agenda, well-meaning as they may have been, for a long time. But more than that, they're suspicious of individual responsibility, of making your own way. They think that that can lead to selfishness instead of self-reliance. They're always trying to help people in poverty rather than helping people out of poverty. They're always making excuses for low educational standards. They are even suspicious these days of the family unit. They think somehow it's judgmental to say that marriage is the right place in which to raise children, instead of what it actually is, which is a statement of the blindingly obvious. And they have to say this, that under Ed Miliband, this is, without doubt, one of the most anti-business parties I think we've known for a very long time. It is a party in which profit is now seen as a dirty word, rather than what it actually is for most people, which is the difference between earning your way and having people come in and close your business down altogether. Now, very finally, before I finish, I'm aware I'm probably taking more than my fair share of time. I do want to touch on my opponent, George Galloway. I would like to touch on my opponent, George Galloway, and his record for Bradford. And it would be rather easier to examine his record for Bradford West if he had a record with which to examine. But the problem is that he's always off being the MP for everywhere but Bradford West. And why is this? We don't have to speculate. He's told us himself. He has said that he finds the job 98% tedium. He prefers campaigning. He would rather run for Mayor of London. Well, I commend Mr. Galloway's honesty in this. I do. I commend his candour. But that does not earn him the right to a second term as Member of Parliament for Bradford West. Now, I'm going to focus on Mr. Galloway and his record. I'm not going to trade personal insults. I tell you that now. I'm not going to trade personal insults. I am a man of faith myself. My wife and I, we both are. And it's very important to us that we run a clean campaign. But I will very briefly say this. I want to see a free and independent state of Palestine. I demand, in fact, to see a free and independent state of Palestine. Free from terror, free from poverty, free from unwanted external interference. But blood-curdling speeches alone are not going to bring about that outcome. That outcome will only come about through epic quantities of political courage from leaders on both sides as a first step in a long and painful process of reconciliation, compromise and forgiveness. And I ask you this question in all honesty, ladies and gentlemen. Do you really see Mr. Galloway as an agent in that process of reconciliation? Because I don't. So in conclusion, I want us to run a positive campaign. I want us to present a united front. But I cannot do that on my own. It is only by all of us here presenting a positive face and telling those outside this room who aren't here today that that is what we stand for and that that's what we're about. And if we do that, then maybe, just maybe, I will be standing here next May as your Member of Parliament for Bradford West. Thank you very much.